Welcome back to Supply Chain Africa News. My name is Wandabo Wanyama, and before we went on a short commercial break, we were talking about what Kenya Institute of Supplies Management is doing to promote professionalization. And the good thing happened. The chairman of KISIM joined us. Welcome, Mr. John Karani, to the show.
Thank you, Wandabo Wanyama.
Kindly introduce yourself.
My name is John Karani. I'm blessed to be chairman of the Institute of Kenya Institute of Supplies Management. And it's a blessing to be here and to introduce briefly what Kenya Institute of Supply Chain Management is doing in enhancing professionalism. But I think it's good to take a step back and say that we in Kenya are very blessed to have a recognized institution formed by an act of parliament that came into force in 2007, which is the formation of the Kenya Institute of Supply Chain Management, which is a big step in recognizing the profession. And we as professionals should be proud of that landmark. 2007, up to now, is about 14 years now. And we have taken great steps in entrenching the culture of professionalism so that only those who are bona fide practitioners in supply chain, qualified, are the ones doing procurement work. We still have a lot of work to do in ensuring that we actually, because we have a lot of members who are not employed, because there are still people who are not bona fide, qualified professionals doing the work of professionals. It is like saying, how can you be a doctor operating on somebody's brain when you don't have the medical professionalism? In that same way, the culture and the message we are sending out there is that supply chain is a profession. It must be done by professionals. And that is a journey we are working on. And it's going to still take time, but we are working on inculcating culture and appreciation by the employing bodies that don't just employ anybody to do supply chain work. It is a profession.
When you say that it's a journey you are working on, how many kilometers so far?
Okay, good point. So, in tandem with the Kenya Institute of Supplies Management is a body called Kenya Institute of Examination Board. That is the sister organization that is formed to do capacity building, training of procurement professionals in professional certification of supply chain management. And that body, until we came into the office last year, had not been fully operationalized. And I'm glad to say that from 2020, when we came last year into office, we quickly moved into place to put in place the body called KISEP, Kenya Institute of Supplies Examination Body, which is our own examining body for supply chain professionals. For the longest time, we used to hold our exams under the umbrella body of CASNEP, which is the accountants body, Kenya Association of Accountants. Supplies, Kenya, it's a CASNEP, it's basically the accounting body equivalent to KISEP. For us, that big step of more or less extricating ourselves from the umbrella body or the other body, which is an accounting body, into our own autonomous body is a big step in entrenching and also ensuring the veracity and independence of Supplies Practitioners Examination Body. That has happened, and today, as I speak to you, we are actually the second phase of a new curriculum in supply chain curricula that we have just established recently after a rigorous time which was subjected to a lot of stakeholder engagement to create a syllabus that we believe is practical, relevant to the dynamic needs of our time, and also borrows from the global stage, inculcating local practice. And I think that is the journey we are traveling on. Today was actually a sensitization day for KISEP, talking to our members about what is in it for them in this new curriculum, which is practical, affordable, easy to use, local, with, I call it borrowing globally, but also taking into practice global best practice and local realities.
Thank you very much. At least you've told us what the Kenya Institute of Supplies Management is doing. I want to come to you, Mr. Wakaria, and ask you this question. When we talk about professionalization of supply chain, which other international or national partners do you have on board to ensure that you are promoting this?
Thank you, Mr. Odaba. I think as John said, a lot of collaboration is required because we first have KISIM that is giving us the local context. But we also have international bodies, international professional bodies, membership bodies like the Association for Supply Chain Management that I work for. And this close collaboration can really help in terms of professionalization in many ways. One, we can borrow from ASEM the global practices. We don't need to invent the wheel. So these are practices that have been used in different sectors, in the aviation, in health, and so forth. So we can have those global practices from these international bodies, but come and customize them to our context. So that's one partnership that I think can be of great benefit. The other one could be the aspect of benchmarking. I mean, ASEM has about 45,000 members from different fields. So we can benchmark and see, okay, what can we leverage from the ASEM, right, in terms of enhancing our professional body. The other aspect is like we have courses that these international bodies offer. ASEM, we have certified supply chain profession, we have certification in production and inventory management, certification in logistics, transport and distribution. We even have short courses on principles on demand. But we just don't want to pick them and just come and load them. We are saying, okay, why don't we train facilitators, local facilitators here, who can then harvest that knowledge and then transfer to our people? So I see different aspects in terms of this collaboration. And we have been in close communication with KISIM and see then how can some of these institutions work together. The other thing that we need to think through is in terms of credit transfer. So I've done courses in international bodies. So how do I work with my local body in terms of recognition? Or if I want to become a member of KISIM, do I have to transfer some credit points, or how do we harmonize that process? So I see a lot of benefit, and I think last month we were talking about, having a globalization strategy. You're thinking global, but you are customizing that to a local context.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Ngesa from CIPS, what are you doing?
Yeah, so I happen to be the education liaison officer for CIPS Kenya branch, and I'm also a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Procurement. Just like my colleague has said, what we are doing, and that's why KISIM is lucky to have us, because one of the things we are doing, like when I'm setting exams, I'm injecting the global good practice into those exams and into those moderations. So you see, CIPS operates on a global standard, which actually identifies certain skills that are required at certain stages, from the operational, tactical, to managerial, to advanced. So those competencies are what now we are trying to inject into our own local standards, to make sure that as much as we contextualize, we are also borrowing from international standards, so that to allow, Kenya is not self-reliant in terms of employment. So we also have to allow what we call career mobility, okay, so that they are able also to work out there.
Okay. Mr. Makosala, when Mr. Ngesa talks about borrowing, you've worked both locally and internationally. What do you think is missing in our local supply chain?
I think the local supply chain in Kenya has actually evolved, to some level which has actually made it to kind of, have a lot of components that, one would like to expect or to see in supply chain management. And therefore, I wouldn't say that there's anything major that is lacking, because you will realize the fact that Kenya is placed in a region which supports neighboring countries. A good example is when we had war in southern Sudan. All the expertise what that provided services in Southern Sudan came from Kenya. And they were all focused on logistics, supply chain management experts. So the international training that my brother Wakaria here is talking about, that Charles is also talking about over there, put together with the local context, the local experience and training, basically gives us the holistic requirements, because there was the aspect of clearing and forwarding. Kenya is strategically placed because of the harbour. You will find that quite a lot of young people took that course and training, and as a result, they facilitated the clearance of the commodities, the movement, and what have you. That is not something that you would find in Uganda, a country which is landlocked. Most young people there, basically the kind of training that of clearing that they would probably be exposed to is the one of the border trade. So ranging from international procurement, shipping, clearing, transportation, procurement, warehousing, or air freighting, dispatch distribution, Kenyans have it. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't think there's anything that Kenya lacks. All that they probably need to do now is to integrate, not only with the institutions of higher learning, but also with the employers, so that the employers can define specifically what they need, so that the professional bodies can ensure that the people who are being trained will fit into the industry very well. So when the employers are defining their requirements, they need to work together with these professional experts here, the international, accredited organizations like ASCS, CIPS, and also with the local institutions, Kenya Institute of Supplies. Then they would be able to synergize, synchronize, and integrate, and we shall be a complete and vibrant group of experts. Thank you.
And maybe just to add on that,
okay.
I'm also a member of the chartered member of the Institute of Logistics and Transport, UK.
Okay.
And Kenya now, we are really talking about transportation and infrastructure, logistics infrastructure. You see, now with my knowledge, I'm able to inject that in the students and in the professionals locally, so that they prepare for better things. You see, the previous speaker who was here, Mr. What was his name again? The trade expert told us that Africa Continental Free Trade Area is bringing a lot of good things. One of the good things is that an expansion of consumer market, and consumer market comes with demand for warehousing and storage, and therefore and transport and logistics. So with that kind of knowledge, we are able to cross-pollinate within our economy, so that at least they can be able to meet the objectives of the country.
Mr. Karani, do you agree?
So I must agree, especially with what all the three gentlemen have said, and I like the idea of contextualizing this to our local situation. It is one thing to borrow from global best practice, but we must bring it to bear on our local realities and grow our own, I want to call it, homegrown solutions that can actually cascade in the region. And I like what Makosala said in putting in industry best practice as we develop this own curriculum that will be relevant to the marketplace. And that's a crucial thing that we have done in KISM also, to bring in, as we talk about how do we make sure that we integrate with the industry knowledge, so that at the end of the day we bring up professionals who are not just academicians. That's the practical aspect of what we are talking about. We must not just bring academic training. We must bring practical training, like Bonangesa has talked about here, in the context that we are operating in. We are very blessed as Kenya that we have the potential for impacting a very wide region because of the very advantageous position that we are in, both geographically, that we can actually, today as KISM, we have members from South Sudan, from Somalia, from Congo, actually DRC exactly, and from other countries. So how can we grow our local profession to actually become the regional hub? I say this again to say that CIPS is probably how many years now? Over 50? over 50 years. They didn't start like that. They started small like us. But we have the potential, and I like the thinking of a Pan-African influence. If we can create a Pan-African, the way I think the previous speaker, I missed that discussion, the Africa Free Trade Area, how can we become that solution provider? People are looking for solutions. How can we be the center of excellence for solutions that take care of African problems? Because we have unique problems. And like, say, Europe, whether it's transportation, border issues. You know, Europe, I always say you can travel from Turkey, which is right at it is between Asia and Europe, with a truck and drive all the way to Lisbon, the other side of the European border. Why? They have really borderless. They have created a very borderless scheme. I must say that we in Africa are very far. Today there was somebody who was saying they was traveling from, I think I was traveling to a place called Casablanca. You have to travel all the way to either France or to Amsterdam or UK to come back to Africa. That is such a disservice to ourselves when we have literally created our own roadblocks. So how can we create solutions as Africans that remove all these barriers? So we have what I want to call a free flow of people, trade, and business.
Mr. Makwasala, how do you intend to monitor and evaluate the progress that you've made in supply chain?
As a person or?
As the professionals now.
Okay, I think, you know, for one to be able to appreciate what they have so far gone through, the best is to bring into the aspect of compliance. Because, you know, the rules are put out there, and you know, what is critical now is implementation. I think, you know, in some off-side discussion, there was the aspect of, you know, you going for some training and the rules being made out there. But the most important thing that one would, that I would propose to be done is to ensure that people are complying with the rules and regulations that have been put in place. Because that is the only way that you'd be able to, you know, kind of professionalize, so to speak, come up with a framework that would be able to see you realizing the objective of the profession. I did mention at the beginning that, you know, supplies in Kenya began when Crown agents brought in the idea of, you know, basically training people to appreciate identifying the need, sourcing for the product, delivering the product to the point of need, and all that. And you can see through that process and time, we have evolved up to this particular time when we now have a law in place, embedded in the Constitution. So all we need to do now is to inculcate this notion into even the minds of the people out there who are actually not even supply practitioners, so that if you do a wrong, then they refer you to the law, that the law doesn't say this, and it wakes you up. So that is actually the best way of monitoring the career development that we have had, and it will make even the youngsters coming up into the profession respect and appreciate that profession.
And maybe just to add on what my colleague is saying is that one of the things also KSM is doing is, you know, after we've graduated these guys from the profession, what are they doing out there? Are they performing in accordance with what the knowledge you have given them? Mm-hmm. So it's one of the mandates of KSM. Yeah. So in terms of what he's talking about, ethics, compliance, and how are they influencing the economy? Mm-hmm. So that kind of feedback, and that's why we always have stakeholder meetings to get feedback from them, and also to get feedback from other stakeholders that are getting this kind of.
But you're also the examiner for KISIM, yes. And one of those things that I think you majorly focus on people passing examinations. Probably is there the integrity part that you also involve in it?
Yeah, he told you a very good thing that we are actually not bringing out academicians, we are bringing out professionals. And thank God Kenya has come up, the country has come up with a competence-based kind of syllabus, which we are also following. And this new syllabus that is being sensitized is actually competence-based. And it covers all those, because some of the units we also examine are units based on integrity.
Integrity. Yes.
Yeah, so those values I was mentioning earlier, the guiding principles in procurement, integrity, transparency, value for money, accountability, those are things we calculate through the exams and through our teaching processes.
Mr. Karani, just to continue from where he has left, there is one thing teaching, and then there is now the outcome. Sometimes you can get the totally opposite of what you wanted.
Very true. So it is. It all starts from the stage we enroll people that they choose the profession called supply chain, and that motive, we need to check what's the motive of these young people wanting to become supply chain professionals. And many times we realize that the motive is wrong. And we as KISM now are starting, I want to call a campaign, whereby we actually make sure we interrogate. We tell you, if you are here for the quick, get rich quick back as a young person wanting to join this profession because of the quick money, then you're the wrong motive and you're in the wrong profession. We've done, actually we're engaging with universities now at that stage so that we inculcate the right culture, the right mindset in the professionals that are coming up. Because if we don't catch them there, by the time they have been in the marketplace and gotten adulterated, as it were, it might be too late to change. But still, we are working on a three-pronged approach. And Makosala alluded to this, compliance. But more importantly, what we have done as a profession is started a proper, KISM is a regulator, just so that you know, anchored on 3 key pillars. We do the registration of members, we do the discipline of members, but we also do welfare of members. So the discipline part is what gives us the powers, more or less, to kind of monitor and audit the professionals in the marketplace. How are they performing? So that if there are any issues that come, complaints against our members, we have our own mechanism of, first of all, talking to our members, because many times our members are actually victims of circumstances. We get victimized for work and crimes, or should I say wrongs that happen somewhere along the chain. I always say supply chain is a collegial approach. It's a collegial process which involves a multiplicity of functions. And the supply chain profession is just a facilitator of that process, starting from the user department all the way to who actually gives the actual requirement, including the scope of work. And we as supply chain are just a facilitator of that process. And many times the problems happen right at the source, maybe at the users. So what we want to do is that so that we actually make sure everybody takes their responsibility in the value chain of supply chain, in the sourcing process, it will help everybody now to take cognizance. And more importantly, our accounting officer, they need to know that we as supply chain are joined at the hip, the CEOs. So the idea here is to create a mechanism whereby supply chain professionals are not victims of circumstances. Because many, I want to say many, professionals do the right thing. There's just a few, like in any other professions, those ones, either through the legal process, but more importantly, through our own internal, where we, including ability to withdraw the license of members who do the wrong thing. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We are going to take a short commercial break, and when we come back, we shall be talking to Mr. Okiara to tell us if they have any mentorship program for the upcoming supply chain management.